Hello, my name is Jason Hogg, and I'm joined by Jason Tang. We're both program managers in the Microsoft Azure Storage team. We're pleased to actually provide an overview of the Azure Files Storage General Availability Release. Before we jump into that, just a quick reminder. Azure Storage is a platform that supports 5 different products. The first of those products is blob storage, typically used for storing media, backup data, logs, files, those sorts of things. Table storage, our NoSQL key value store. Queue storage, used for decoupling distributed systems. Disks and premium storage, which of course provide the persistence capabilities for virtual machines. And of course, what we're here to talk about today, Azure File Storage. We're extremely excited to announce that as of today, file storage is GA, meaning you can actually build your production applications on top of file storage with full confidence. In today's presentation, we're going to provide an overview of file storage. We're also going to walk through some key scenarios. We're going to demonstrate some of the new capabilities that are in this general availability release. Plus, we're going to walk through some examples of how customers and partners are using file storage. Our goal is to get you excited about file storage such that you can migrate your share-based applications to the cloud. So, as everybody's aware, file shares are a critical component within your data center infrastructure. They enable sharing of data across virtual machines. One of the challenges, of course, with actually managing a highly available file share is that you typically end up having to either purchase expensive proprietary hardware, or you end up running multiple virtual machines and having to use a replication technology like DFS. Both of these solutions are actually complex to manage, plus end up being very expensive. In addition to which, you have to think about the capacity of the actual storage infrastructure. So it was for this reason we've designed Azure File Storage from the ground up as a fully managed cloud surface. File storage has been in preview, and one of the top pieces of feedback we got from our customers was that our customers wanted to actually connect securely to their file shares. So it was for this reason that we've actually implemented SMB 3.0, which provides an encrypted connection from on-premises to the cloud. So this means in addition to being able to actually share data within your data center, you can now actually connect your shares from on-premises, also from other regions. The idea here is that you can now, in addition to being able to actually migrate your applications to the cloud, you can still connect to the actual data that your applications are consuming from on-premises. During the preview period, we've also been working extensively with first-party and third-party tooling providers. And we're going to demonstrate some fantastic new capabilities today in the Azure portal, PowerShell, AZ Copy, plus rich client library support. Now I'm going to walk through a couple of different scenarios that demonstrate how file storage can be used by your organization. Most organizations have a lot of server data inside their actual data centers. Maybe it's log files, event data, that sort of stuff, sitting on expensive on-premises managed hardware. One of the simplest solutions you can use file storage for is just to move that data to the cloud. Secondly, you may want to actually distribute this data between offices and branches. In addition to actual file storage actually providing this capability, we've got an example of a partner later on, Talon, that's got an extremely sophisticated branch office replication technology that we'll demonstrate. Many organizations also have data sitting on-site that really should be getting backed up to off-premises data centers to ensure if something goes wrong in your own premises environment, you've got a backup of the data. And file storage is perfect for that. File storage is built on top of the storage platform, which means we support both locally redundant storage plus geo-redundant storage. With locally redundant storage, we actually store 3 replicas of your data within a data center. Secondly, if you actually configure geo-redundant storage, we store another 3 replicas of your data in a second data center, at least 200 or 300 miles away from the primary data center, meaning you should feel very secure about the actual durability of your data. With our GA release, we also have express route support so that you can actually now connect using reliable, predictable, and private connectivity. The second scenario is having migrated your data to the cloud, you now want to start thinking about how you actually migrate file or file share-based applications to the cloud. One of the great things with SMB is you can actually try during testing, you can migrate your data to the cloud and have your existing applications connect to that data just to actually test functionality of your application. Once you're convinced that the actual functionality works, move your applications over, have them run in a VM, and you've basically migrated your application to the cloud. The great news is, because we've got this on-premise connectivity, you can continue to connect to that data from on-premises as well. One of the things that we've seen is many ISVs have actually created data access providers, which are the means by which your applications interact with their storage layer. So rather than having those data access layers rewritten, you can also use those as written and still have applications interact with their underlying data. So having migrated your application to the cloud, many enterprises are then faced with the challenge of, How do you actually extend those applications? Do you continue to actually use a legacy API, potentially file system-based APIs? Well, it doesn't always make sense if you're actually building a modern application where you want to be using REST APIs. So it's for this reason, in addition to actually having SMB support, we've got rich API support for file storage, meaning both management and control management and data plane operations can now be performed using REST APIs. This allows you to build brand new applications that use REST to interact with your underlying data. So in addition to CRUD-like operations, we've also got SaaS and CORS support within our REST APIs. SaaS is our shared account signature, which supports delegated authorization. This enables you to actually create a token by which your new modern applications interact with your file storage. These file tokens can actually restrict access. So for example, if you had an application that you only want to provide read-only access to your file storage, you can do that. You issue a file token that includes read-only access. We also have CORS support. CORS enables you to actually have a browser-based application that can interact directly with file storage. This greatly simplifies the development of your applications, meaning you no longer have to actually have a data access layer that you have to design and manage independently. We've also implemented file support in our .NET, Java, Node, and Python client libraries, meaning it's very accessible now to developers. The fourth scenario is typically for server workloads. Many server workloads, such as SQL Server or IIS, were dependent on reliable networks, which doesn't always exist in cloud environments. So it's for this reason, in addition to implementing SMB's encryption capability, we've implemented persistent handles, which enables a continuous availability, meaning the actual SMB3 client now shields the dependent application from some network outages, meaning it's actually now possible to actually host IIS or FTP websites using SMB3. Similarly, we now support SQL Server failover cluster instances. And we'll actually demonstrate how some of our partners are actually using this capability. One example for IIS is where traditionally, if you were managing a IIS high availability server farm, it obviously means you need to run multiple instances of IIS. One of the challenges then is, how do you replicate the data across those IIS instances? Well, the great news with file storage is you can actually have multiple IIS instances mounted on a single share, meaning you've got high availability. Should one of the VMs crash, another VM can actually take the traffic. Plus, you no longer need to worry about replication. So at this point, I'm going to hand over to Jason Tang, who's going to provide a demonstration of some of the new features that we've developed.
Thanks, Jason. Today, I'm super excited to have this opportunity to demonstrate some cool new capabilities we just introduced along with Azure Files Storage GA. There are three things I'd like to show today. The first thing is, as an IT pro, how you can leverage Azure Portal to manage your file shares through a brand new file explorer. The second thing is, how you can actually mount the file share, use the file share from both Windows and the Linux client. And the third thing is, as a developer, how you can leverage Azure Storage REST API as well as our powerful client libraries to build your own application with Azure File Storage. Now let's start the first demo. So here, I just log in to Azure Portal. This is the storage account I use to access blob, table, queue storage. Now I can use it to access file storage as well. Of course, I can create a new storage account here if I need it, but let me just go ahead to using this existing storage account. Now what I'm going to do next is I will go ahead to create my very first file share. So I just click the button here. So I want to do is I want to edit or create a new file share. Let's just call it demo file share. So we offer up to 5 terabytes for each file share. But here for demo purpose, probably 100 gigabytes will be good enough. So let me just go ahead to input 100. So now I have my very first file share already ready. So what I'm going to do next is I will go ahead to create a new folder under this file share and try to upload a couple of files from my local client into this newly created file share through Portal.
And what you're demonstrating is brand new functionality within the portal. Is that correct?
Exactly. Yeah, this is the new capability we introduced for IT Pro through the Azure Portal just for GA.
Fantastic.
So let me just here click the upload button. So what I'm going to do is I go ahead to pick up several files from my local folder, and then I will go ahead to upload them into the file share. What I can do is I can actually later download any files I uploaded into this file share just using Portal. Another cool thing I'd like to show is once you have a file share created, you can actually click the connect button here. What it does is it will actually provide a full net use command which can be used later by you to mount the file share from any Windows client, which is handy for most of the folks. So this is the first demo. I just demonstrate how IT Pro can leverage Azure Portal to manage the file shares. Now let me switch to my second demo. There I'm going to show you guys how you can mount the file share and use the file share from both Windows and the Linux client. So here I have a Windows box I created, which is sitting in a different location than file share.
And this is connecting from on-premises, is that correct?
Exactly. I will try to using this mounted using SMB 3.0 protocol, which you just mentioned.
Great.
So there's actually several ways I can do that. What I want to do right now is I want to use in my favorite file explorer and just click beloved map network drive. So all I need to do right now is I should go ahead to key in the file path of the file share I just created from Portal. So I will go ahead to do that. It's AzureCon 2015. That's my storage account name. File.core.windows.net. This is the file endpoint we created for each storage account. And then I will go ahead to fill in the file share name, demo file share, which we just created a minute ago from the Portal. And then next, I will need to key in my storage account name and key as the login credential. Again, AzureCon 2015. Okay. Now let's see what happens. Actually, you will see this file share I created from Portal has been mounted successfully as a Z drive for me from this Windows client. So I can see this is the folder I created early, and these are the files I just uploaded from my local client a minute ago from the Portal. So actually, what I want to do next is I want to go ahead to create maybe a text file. Let's call it log. So I will open this file just from here. Let's type in something, maybe hello world. Save. So what I plan to do next is I will try to open the exactly same file later from Linux client to see if I can make some edits on this one. So before we switch to Linux client, there's one more thing I'd like to show is if you have Azure PowerShell, there's a handy functionality which allows you to get more information on SMB connection. As you can see here, I can simply use get SMB connection to check the version I'm using to negotiate with Azure File Storage. It shows 3.0, which is exactly the version we mentioned early, as well as some more information, which might be useful for IT Pro.
I assume you could have also typed the netuse command either into this window or into the command shell as well. Is that correct?
Exactly. You can also use your favorite netuse command to mount the file share, as Jason mentioned. So there's several approaches to do that. So now let me open. This is an Ubuntu server which I created early using the image available in Azure Image Gallery. This is actually Azure VM, which is sitting in the same region as the file share we just created. So the good thing is this latest image already contains the CIFS module. So what I can do is I can go ahead, try to use a command. So this is the mount command I typed early. So here I specify I want to mount it using CIFS module. I provided the file path. I provided the mount point, as well as the version I specify use SMB3 and also other login credential information. So let's see how it works. So it shows it's mounted successfully to the file share we created, and it is 100 gigabyte, just as I just specified in the Portal a minute ago. So I will do some things to verify if we are mounting to the same file share. So let me just go ahead to go to the data folder I created. I can actually see the log.txt file, if you remember, which is I created a minute ago from my Windows client. Let me see if I can do anything with this file. OK, I can actually see the content here. Maybe just added one more line here. Okay, let's save it. So right now, I added the same file in the same file share. So what I want to do is I want to switch back to my Windows box. Let's say take a look if the edits I made from Linux is already there. Okay. So we just go to the Z drive, just as your local drive. Double-click. We can actually see the text is already there, which proves that you can actually mount the file share and use the file share from both Windows and the Linux client. So this is the second demo I'd like to show you. Then let's switch to the third demo. Imagine you're a new developer who is interested in developing some application with Azure Files Storage. But how should I get started? So here, if you already installed the latest Azure SDK from internet, then you can just go ahead to open your favorite Visual Studio, and then you go File, New. You will see there's a couple of cool examples is already available. This is the file example we have, which I already opened here. So let's see what it does. This sample is pretty straightforward. It actually will access the file share and try to create the directory and upload the image file for you.
And this is using the REST APIs now as opposed to SMB, is that correct?
Exactly. This is leverage the underlying REST API Jason just mentioned. So if you want to run this sample, it's pretty simple. You just need to replace the storage account name here and just put your storage account key. And then all you need to do is just sit back and relax to run this sample. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. OK, from the console window, we can see the code sample has been executed successfully. What it does is it accesses the file share, and it created a new folder and upload the file. Let's see if that's the case. Let me just switch back to my Windows client. Here I have it mounted as my local drive. Oh, here's a new folder, which is obviously created by the code sample we just run.
Great.
Double-click, we see the image file uploaded. So this code sample is actually a great start point for any developer who wants to build their own application with Azure File Storage. So just a quick recap. There are three things I showed today. The first one is, as an IT pro, how you can leverage Azure Portal to manage your file shares. And the second thing is how you can actually mount the file share, use the file share from both Windows and the Linux client. And the third thing is, as a developer, how you can leverage Azure Storage REST API, as well as our powerful client libraries to build your own application with Azure File Storage. Now let me hand over back to Jason.
Thank you. Great demonstrations. Now what we want to do is actually take a look at some of the work that our partners and customers have actually done with file storage. The first customer is Camden Development. Camden is a property management and construction firm heavily dependent on their website for marketing. Traditionally, they were running their website in a single IIS instance. They were using an FTP service, an FTP client, to enable their marketing department to actually upload the data, their visuals, from on-premises to the cloud. This was a cumbersome process. It also required purchasing the actual licenses for the FTP service, plus had the downside of if the VM actually crashed that IIS was running in, their website would be unavailable. Camden found file storage and immediately saw two opportunities for actually using it. The first was to actually run multiple instances of IIS mounted on a single file share, thus providing higher availability for their website. The second opportunity was to actually simplify how their marketing team staged and migrated the content to the cloud. They're using System Center orchestration and AZ copy to actually migrate to staging and production environments. With SMB3, the client management side of things will be even simpler. The second customer we wanted to talk to was Microsoft's Operations Management Suite. OMS has a log analytics capability. that enables IT pros to actually monitor their log and event data, looking for patterns that could indicate something's going wrong in their on-premises or cloud-based applications. The analytics capability has existed for a while and was heavily dependent on Win32 file system APIs. So when they looked to actually migrate this solution into the cloud, they were extremely pleased that they found file storage that allowed them to actually host their log and event data using Windows APIs or file system APIs, and then run their analytics solution with absolutely no code changes. The challenge they then had was they could run their analytics solution in the cloud, but then it was about how to actually get event and log data from customers' on-premises environments to the cloud. And this is where our REST APIs helped out. They've been able to actually build an agent that customers install on-premises that gathers the log data, packages it, and sends it to the on-premises file storage cloud, at which point the analytics solution runs against the file storage and is able to actually perform the task needed. OMS has been in production for about 5 months now and is scaling to over petabytes of data. If you're interested in learning more about OMS, click on the link and you actually get a free trial. Now we want to take a look at a couple of solutions our partners are developing. The first one is Cloud Portum. Cloud Portum's developed a browser-based file storage manager. It's a standalone web-based application that allows you to actually manage your file shares from within a browser. You can actually upload data, download data, you can actually limit quotas, those sorts of things. And they've been actually able to build this capability using the SaaS and core-based model that we talked about earlier. With cores, again, it allows them to actually, from within JavaScript within the browser, interact directly with file storage in a secure manner. So the second partner that we wanted to talk to is Talon. Talon has actually developed a cloud fast solution based on file storage. And Jaap van Duvenbode is going to actually present an overview of it now.
Thank you for joining today's session on CloudFast for Azure Files. Distributed enterprises are often challenged managing unstructured file-level data. Our experience learns that end users need to work on a centralized data set that is fully coherent, easy to manage, and protects them from data loss or integrity issues. The biggest challenge is, how do you guarantee a high-performance end-user experience at all locations? By using CloudFast, you can centralize and secure your file-level data in Azure, while being able to deliver enterprise global file sharing collaboration to your users. Our software-based approach allows you to use the Microsoft Windows Server platform to create an intelligent file cache at the branch. In order to implement the solution, you can directly spin up a VM from the Azure Marketplace, followed by deploying our software at each of your branch locations. Let's create a new Word document from our New York branch office. We'll open this document and add content to it. Subsequently, we're saving our changes back to the file. Now, we'll open the same file from Amsterdam. The user will get a notification that the file is locked by the New York user, which proves that CloudFast for Azure Files fully honors global file locking, guaranteeing file integrity throughout the distributed enterprise. Finally, we want to demonstrate how the solution integrates with Active Directory and security principles like NTFS-level permissions. Administrators can directly add user and group permissions to their file or folder structure. CloudFast ensures that these ACLs are centrally stored in Azure Files and immediately propagated to each branch office in the environment so that all security permissions are synchronized. For more information, check us out at globalfilesharing.com.
All right, so that was a fantastic example of how you can actually now have branch office capabilities implemented using Talon. So, a quick recap. Azure File Storage is developed on top of the actual storage platform. One of the benefits to this is you have both LRS and GRS support, meaning that in a single data center, you have 3 replicas of your file share data stored. If you select GRS, you get 6 replicas, 3 replicas in your primary data center, another 3 replicas in your secondary data center, meaning you should have full confidence that you're covered from a DR perspective. From a protocol support, we support both SMB 2.1 and 3.0. With 3.0, and you get encrypted transport connectivity from on-premises. You do need to open port 445 outbound. We also have REST API support. In terms of storage, you can store up to 500 terabytes of data with up to 5 terabytes of data in each share, but you can have as many shares as you want. We're also excited to announce that we're actually extending our promotional pricing all the way through to March of 1st, 2016. That's 4 cents a gigabyte for LRS and 5 cents a gigabyte for GRS. So, quick recap. Azure File Storage is generally available right now. You should build your production applications with full confidence. We simplify share management and enable a hybrid file sharing scenario, allowing you to actually connect from on-premises to the cloud securely. We also bridge legacy and modern applications using our rich APIs. We now also have rich tooling support, both first-party and third-party. So our ask to you right now is log on to the new Azure portal and actually create your first file share right now and start migrating your costly on-premises data to the cloud. We also have a couple of other announcements that we wanted to make. The first is that we're in the middle of rolling out some enhancements to our SaaS capabilities, enabling account-wide permissions to be granted using SaaS tokens. We also have protocol restrictions that you can enable, requiring, for example, HTTPS to be used by users of your SaaS tokens, plus the ability to restrict access to an external IP address. We've also got some enhancements to our storage resource provider that you might want to take a look at. We've also got a lot of enhancements in our client library and tooling. First of all, we have our iOS preview now available. We've also just released our data movement library. Data movement library is the core data movement framework that powers AZ Copy, that allows people now to actually build high-performance data movement-based applications, useful for scenarios such as backing up data or migrating data from another cloud provider into Azure storage. We also have full support for files within our Python client library. Plus, in about a week, we're going to roll out our Java client library with client-side encryption support. So with that, we've provided an overview of Azure File Storage's general availability announcement and a summary of some other announcements we have from storage. Thank you again for joining us at AzureCon.